afternoon, everyone. We're from BFBS Technology, and we're here today to tell you a little bit about a project that we completed earlier this year, where we worked alongside BT to move across from our hardware-based to cloud. Roll VT.
You've opened it again. We're looking for better. You know you can do it. It's breakfast@bfbs.com.
BFBS plays a pivotal role in maintaining democracy. We ensure that all those who serve our country have access to secure media. This means that whatever the threat level or location, they have media at their fingertips.
The British Forces Broadcasting Service has chosen BT to future-proof its delivery of content for UK Armed Forces, serving both overseas and at sea. Our VENA platform was built to offer broadcasters the resilience and flexibility they need to serve audiences wherever they are. This is a great example of its potential for the industry.
BFBS TV is a secure, closed user group delivered over encrypted satellite television to satellite boxes and onward terrestrial distribution. We also deliver over IP an authenticated live and on-demand experience to mobiles and TV devices, plus bespoke edge solutions delivering the same at sea and to austere land locations.
So at BFBS, we're looking to improve our services in a number of ways, predominantly around the way that we distribute our content to the British Armed Forces overseas. And what we were looking for was the ability to flex and scale as those needs of the Ministry of Defence and the Armed Forces change.
BFBS has quite a challenge to meet the entertainment needs of forces serving all around the world. To do that, we curate a mixture of 12 linear TV channels, 28 radio channels, which we then shape into 7 different platforms.
We decided that we really would benefit from a cloud-based solution over an on-premise solution, and that brought with it a number of significant opportunities.
We've been onboarded onto BT's VENA network, which offers us the diversity and resilience we need to reliably connect our headquarters here at BFBS with BT's switch in London, the satellite uplink at Madley, and also a number of our locations around the world. We've moved from a traditional hardware and baseband solution to a software-defined one, which enables us to have a higher degree of flexibility. It gives us future-proofing in terms of being able to shape and mould the content of our platforms.
It allowed us to move to a fully managed service that could include most of our satellite uplinks as well. We were looking also to enhance our business and broadcast continuity capabilities, and that is a significant step change. From a financial perspective, it allowed us to move to an OPEX-based model over a capital expenditure-based model.
As a charity and a not-for-profit organisation, we need to turn to trusted partners to be innovative in what is a really fast-moving technology marketplace.
The IP-based nature of the network integration has required a huge amount of collaboration between both our teams on the engineering level to bring these networks together in a safe way with the necessary firewalls and protections.
There were 2 concurrent approaches to crafting the solution from the initial requirements. Firstly, we shared with BT some of our more complex and challenging requirements, particularly based around our global regionalised audiences where the requirements are different. One such complexity is our need to time shift our content dependent upon the region that it's intended to be received. And secondly, as we grew to understand more about BT's platform, we were able to map it against our known needs and wants. And actually, as we understood the platform in more detail, we tweaked our requirements because we were able to see where we could make change for the better.
BT has a long history of supporting the armed forces. This new partnership with BFBS is building on that heritage, using the power of technology to future-proof its services for an organisation that entertains, informs, connects and champions the UK's armed forces, both domestically and across the globe.
From the very beginning, collaboration was an essential requirement for BFBS, and this relationship was always around openness, honesty and transparency.
Working with BT was a wonderful experience because it was full of positive people, a can-do attitude, but importantly, calm in the face of pressure.
Our aim is to provide a sense of togetherness. We provide contemporary Britain and Britishness to UK service communities around the globe. We offer a trusted, secure, safe, reliable and relevant link with home.
These experiences are really valued by those serving abroad. BT have been connecting people for years and BFBS has been doing it for years too. We support the armed forces in making the world a safer place through entertainment and technology.
Cool, thanks. So at BFBS, we have a presence in the UK ranging up in Edinburgh all the way down to Blandford and across the sea to Northern Ireland. In total, we have 12 UK studio complexes and they broadcast across 19 FM and 14 AM transmitters, and our local team produces 19 unique live shows per day.
Whilst the UK is the centre of our network, BFBS is perhaps rightfully and best known for its global coverage. And today we have 4 satellite footprints giving us near global coverage, as well as a number of IP networks helping to deliver terrestrially, plus reception at seas.
As you can see from behind me, our overseas footprints range from exotic locations, hot enough not to just fry 1 egg, but 2 eggs on a Land Rover, remember that number, 2 eggs on a Land Rover, to also conditions where our main concern is a transmitter freezing.
Luckily, we are blessed with a team of very agile engineers who can turn their hand to carrying out these installations wherever they be, the top of a mast, container in Kosovo, or at sea.
And just to, oh, okay, we're skipping it.
Sorry.
I was just going to run some stats as well, is that we overseas have 47 FM transmitters that are within varying power.
So over the years, we've used VSAT extensively in Bosnia, Kosovo, the Gulf, Cyprus, the Falklands, Brunei, Nepal. But as IP delivery has become more widespread and more reliable, we've shrunk that down to just a single VSAT link now.
And today the UK is the core of our network. In Chalfont, which is where our headquarters are, we provide a sustaining service where the local stations overseas and in the UK opt in and out of. And we already use quite an extensive use of cloud connectivity to ingest and distribute our music and our content. So we like to think that BFBS has been at the forefront of broadcasting technology for many years, and behind us are some of our achievements which have led us up to today.
In '94, we adopted DVB broadcasting, which is really useful in terms of enabling us to reduce bandwidth and providing secure encryption. Carried on developing then. In 2016, we had our MyPlayer, which was an in-house application that enabled us to deliver basically a Wi-Fi type experience to personnel on board ships.
And in 2015, we worked with Ofcom and industry SMEs to launch one of the first kind of small-scale DABs, which one is still in use today.
And most recently, we've just about to launch an esports league dedicated to the military.
But this all leads us up to today and what we're here to talk to you about. We have worked with BT and we have built a new cloud-based platform which is built on Kubernetes clusters.
Whilst the Attend platform has been successfully deployed quite widely beforehand, we had a couple of firsts with it. It was the first large-scale integration of a Detto encryption across multiple networks, and they also brought forward the development of the direct ingest of Livewire into the system.
Now, it is a massive mountain to climb to move all of your distribution from hardware to cloud, but it does have a lot of compelling reasons to move away from that limitations of hardware.
Today, as we stand, we can support 8 individual networks, each with their own encryption profile, 104 unique radio and TV services, 28 of which are regionalized with delays. And in addition to that, we're now able to flex the balance between linear and OTT content so we can meet the needs of the changing audience.
It's more widely acceptable that you'd want to lower the bandwidth of your video over audio. However, when you have nearly over 100 radio channels, that plays a significant part of the overall capacity. So additional also driver for us was also the reduction of usable C-band technology, which has been the mainstay of our global distribution for many years.
LEO is certainly one of the alternatives we're looking at, but of course the disadvantage there is, unlike broadcast, every time you add another location, the cost increases. So of course the new system helps by us being able to encode more efficiently, but we're not quite there yet, because we've still got all the legacy kit that's the older generation of encoding reception. So we've got a big task there to swap out all of our end-user set-top boxes and our IRDs at all the transmission sites.
At BFBS, we do have privileged position to have a lot of rights to distribute a lot of content. But with that, we have to ensure that it's secure because of our audience and where they are. With this new system, what the platform is allowing us to achieve is our new set-top boxes will be deployed with cloaked conditional access. And that gives us a further level of protection that we currently need and wanted.
And the boxes also support our planned transition from CSA v2 to v3, which increases the encryption level from 64 to 256-bit. And most recently, we started working with partners in the C2PA area to provide extra authenticity and trust in the content that we provide.
Now, one of the biggest, we'd probably say, challenges of this project was that just because both parties were ISO 27001 accredited, it didn't mean that both companies worked in the same way with the same standards and policies.
I had the delightful task of being translator, negotiator, mediator between the two network teams on each side. And it's safe to say I did have a fairly steep learning curve about some of the languages and protocols.
We also had to segregate and protect all of the incoming traffic. And for that, we built 12 new shared multicast VLANs, which was quite a big achievement for us as well. Now, there's many of us in the room that may be broadcast engineers, and it's in our nature to avoid dead air. So one of the big things that we needed to do in this project was to ensure that there was a main and reserve. Network configuration, to me anyway, is still somewhat of a dark magic. However, it is a great comfort to know that there is 2 of everything.
One of the challenges of moving to anything cloud-based is how do you guarantee the true diversity of your services? Because even though you may be using different providers, you may find they're using the same bearers. In our case, despite being on a well-connected site already, we had to run in 2 new independent fibres to exchanges, each of which over 20 kilometres away. My personal sort of lowering in popularity was gained by digging up the concrete outside the main reception during a board meeting.
Now, this was a massive system change for us. So to ensure that it had a smooth transition and went successfully, we did have to do a lot, and I mean a lot of testing.
The mainstay of this was ensuring parity of the 2 DVB streams, well, 7 times 2. And for that, we used a simple XML export. But it isn't always as simple as that, because version numbers change and so on and so forth. So actually, there was quite a lot of human eyes needed to be on those tables for comparison to make sure they were okay, and also a fair amount of pre-testing of the functionality of the CA system, ensuring we could issue the right permissions, turn cards on and off, and so forth.
One of the tests that we completed as well was ensuring that our set-top boxes could receive successful reception, and we also simulated a switch between the old system and the new system. This was important for us to ensure that we knew what was going to happen, to rule out any issues. But most importantly, it meant that we locked Mark in a lab for 2 weeks so he could do that test.
And the last big bit of the pre-testing was the lineup of the satellite carriers, 3 separate ones on different footprints to look after. So we arranged that to be out of hours overnight, because obviously you have to drop the services and so on. It's all about reducing the audio impact, but it meant that going into the day of change, we knew everything had been tested as far as possible.
So a massive deep breath as the day of migration arrives. We had a very hard end stop for this to happen, and we actually only finished debugging a couple of days before the system went live.
Now, most people might get nervous about changing one major element, but we said, nah, nothing. We'll go for 4, so we changed our provider, our uplink site, our multiplex and encoding, and our encryption, all on the same day.
We also moved our in-house EPG application to new servers, which allowed us to go from 4 to 7 networks. In terms of letting our audience know, we did opt for a low-key approach. We found it was very important to be open and honest with your audience, especially as well to keep them, help desk service calls down. Just letting them know that there was some engineering work going on, and if there was an issue, they may need to just retune their boxes. We also ensured that there was a balance between the UK time and the relevant time zones. This was not just to ensure that there was enough engineering resources, but also not to interrupt, an episode of The Archers, cricket, or, the Holy Grail, which is the Love Island final.
So when it came down to the actual change, we were fairly confident, I was fairly confident, that the DVB side of it was all okay, but we were nervous about encryption, because the bottom line is you couldn't synchronize the 2 systems. Older Ditto system, newer Ditto system. Same building blocks, but completely different code words, keys, and so on and so forth. So what we did is we temporarily relaxed the global permissions on the systems. And whilst we did that, we upped the available bandwidth for the card messaging by nicking a bit off the video pool, so we could push all those new messages out as fast as possible. At the end of it, we had a sort of couple of second break in each transport stream. And then the thing that really did please me was we only had a handful of people calling in later on who needed to get their cards reauthorized.
So after a massive project, what were our top tips? Again, as we say, just because a company has the same accreditation, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that they work the same way as you. So ensuring the communication is open between you both is really important. Also as well, being open and honest with your audience, there's no harm in that. At the end of the day, they're your customer, they need to know what's going on, and it does save a lot of call-outs as well.
A common theme from colleagues, as you've heard earlier in the day, is test, and more testing. You've really got to make sure you allow enough time to do this and be confident. So when the boss turns around and says, why isn't it working? Did you test that? Say, well, actually, yes, we did. And there was an unknown. And it will take more time than you think. It always does.
And I think Mark and I both agree, feed in your network engineers or any engineer is very important.
But not after midnight.
But not after midnight, yes. Cool. Any questions?
We have a question down here, if I can find the... Oh, you've got it, have you?
Hi. On each of your remote sites, are you using any local site IP multicast, or is it purely DVB over RF?
It is mainly DVB over RF at the moment. Yes, it all comes back and then is out that way.
Another question over here.
You mentioned about an esports competition. Is the are the networks that the multiplayer esports are on, are they compliant with that? Was it I-174 127001 or whatever it was.
Oh, the ISO 27001.
Yeah.
Yes, everything we do in network engineering carries that standard, and we've also got our overall infosec around it. And it is new. We're running pilots at the moment. We're getting all sorts of age ranges in to do that, and we're building that, but we're very much aware, because of what it is, where it is, that we need to make sure there's the right level of security in there.
And thank you. Another question there.
Oh.
Thank you. Unless I'm completely getting the wrong end of the stick here, assuming that you're updating how you do encryption and stuff for your transmission, how do you then deal with like the various like people far away on ships and stuff that are meant to be receiving those signals and coordinating how they then decrypt?
Okay, so the DVB streams do go to all the ships on stabilized dishes, so they get, as far as they can, a consistent DVB stream, and that goes through pretty much the same process as any land base, where it goes into a receiver, it's decrypted, and then circulated around the closed system.
Thanks.
That's good.
Is there any good reason why a radio station wouldn't do what you've done?
Sanity?
It is definitely something that gives you benefits when you've got just the sheer scale of operation that we have. It's the flexibility for us that's the real key. I touched on that earlier. We know that linear broadcasting is facing that constant demand against the up and coming unruly child of OTT and on-demand content, and we have a challenge over the next few years to be able to balance that and react as dynamically as possible.
Vanessa, Mark, thank you very much for your time
Thanks so
today.
much.